Right, good to see you all. Last week, obviously, I had to rush off because my wife had an accident. She was a bit better, but yeah, still struggling a bit. So what I did last week was I did do a very quick demo when I got back. And what we could do is today is a little bit of sketching of each other, which might be quite nice. You know, if you fancy doing this, it might be quite nice maybe if one person poses for 5 minutes, quick sketch, and then swap around and somebody else, you know, the other person poses. It's not compulsory, you don't have to do this. But the way I was taught, a lot of my kind of art education, as it were, was drawing from direct observation. I think before I went to art college, I did 3 years life drawing at Eton classes where I was working. And I went to art college, did another 4 years life drawing. So this is all working from nude models. Also did like portrait drawing classes and portrait painting classes at Eton classes. Same sort of thing on my degree. I did a certain amount of working from life, portrait painting. And then I obviously taught life drawing. I did that when I taught at community colleges. So I did teaching life drawing for about 4 or 5 years. So it gives you a great grounding, you know, just looking at the real, you know, looking at things very directly and just working directly. I still do a lot of drawing. I don't do a lot of light drawing anymore, but I do an awful lot of this kind of thing when I'm waiting, you know, for you know, waiting at stations or on tube trains and things like that. I do a lot of drawing for people. Yeah, just sort of informal, quick sketches. These are all from the last few years, these sketchbooks. And most of them are when I've been travelling. When I do a lot of drawing, painting up in London, and you know, I find that doing a few little quick sketches on the way up there just kind of gets me warmed up and gets me eye in. So it's quite a nice warm-up exercise. I don't really do anything with these, but they're just nice to do, really. I do like having people in my paintings, so it's always good practice for that. I brought a few books in, so some people, you know, over the years, and then I'll bring a few more books other days as well. So different people that influenced me. Edward Hopper was a very early influence, so I'm really keen on his work. And again, he's somebody that, and it's this sort of work that quite inspires me really. I like people in environments. I'm not particularly interested in portraits as such, but I like people in situations. That's the kind of work that I aspire to do. So, you know, he's a really good person to look at, and he's the sort of person that I've looked at a lot. And then more recently, this chap, Bill Jacklin, he was somebody I came across about, you know, quite a long time ago, and he works, he's still alive, he's still working, a little bit, maybe similar sort of themes, urban scenes, things like that. I think he worked from a mixture of photographs and sketches he does, so I brought that book in. And then this is a chap that I really admire, Rob Poynton. He's a contemporary artist, he lives in the Midlands, and you know, some of this is a catalogue from a couple of years back, one of his exhibitions, and he does very dynamic, you know, busy urban scenes. He's also recently had a sort of commission to with the Household Cavalry, so sort of painting the Household Cavalry. So he's a really good artist. When we went up to Stoke last year, he found lots of locations for us to paint with, and I've, you know, been painting with him a couple of times. Really fantastic painter. So anyway, there's a couple of catalogues and books there if you want to have a look at those. The photos I've got, the references. I kind of went through all my references, and I've got quite a lot of different, you know, photos with people in them. So there's lots of things here if you wanted to make like a painting out of something. Just figures on their own, I didn't think there were that many clear ones, so I've basically gone on to Pinterest, to use Pinterest, and just basically nicked a load of photos off of there. So lots of figure, you know, I just sort of downloaded, you know, clipped them and printed them out. So these are quite good for sort of quick figure drawing references. They're mostly very nice looking people, very good bodies. Couldn't find anybody very ordinary looking. I probably if I looked at it. So, yeah, as I say, last week's demo, I just used this picture of my son's and made it more of a head and shoulders. So that's a bit more relevant to if you're doing quick sketches today. I thought what I'd go on to though is like full figures, drawing full figures. So this is really pretty much how I'd advise you to go about drawing full figures. And obviously you can see from my sketches, nowadays I just draw, I just start with lines, I start with details and I work my way down and down. But when I first started doing life drawing, the way I was encouraged to draw, and the way I would encourage you to draw, is to look for a bit of structure. So if I was drawing this chap here, there's things to be aware of. So he's standing, he's not got his weight on both feet, he's got it slightly more on this leg here. Yeah. So the weight's going for that leg, this leg is very slightly bent. So that means that there's a little bit of an angle through his hips there. So it's very tempting to paint drawing both that way, but in actual fact, because his hips are that way, his torso will be a little bit of an angle. Also, his shoulders will be a little bit of an angle. So it's just looking for those subtle angles and subtle differences. So if I start with his head, I'm thinking his head about there. If you want to measure there, you can measure the head. That's probably going to go in about 6 times, 4, 5, 6 and a bit, something like that. So I'm thinking head there. You could just check that's going to fit in 6 times if you wanted to. That's the line from the middle of his features here. And then the rest of his head is going to be about there. Eye level, just the same as if I was doing a portrait, eye level is going to be about there. You could just make a few marks for his features, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. But it's useful just getting a little bit of a sense of where the features are going to be. Because you can then reference other parts of the body. And what I find I do when I'm drawing figures is I'm kind of looking at the relationships this way. So I'm looking at, say, you know, if that's the middle of the head, where's the centre of gravity? And you'll find that if that's the middle of the head, that will be just over this foot that's taking the weight. So it might be worth just popping the line in, just help me on my way. The middle of his neck, so I've got the middle of his face, the middle of his neck is slightly more vertical. I'm thinking shoulders, yeah, this shoulder is very, very slightly higher than that shoulder. It's not much. His torso is just very slightly going that way. And then his hips here. So almost drawing like a skeleton or a stick figure. If you wanted to draw his arms at the same time, the middle of this arm is going to be about here. And then that's going out that way. This one, something like that. And you might need to move these over this way or that way a little bit, but it's just getting the general directions of just trying to imagine roughly where the bones will be inside the arm. And then this leg, as I say, that leg's taking the weight, so the middle of that leg is going to be going through like that. That's kind of the where that's going, and then his upper leg, something like that. And once I've got that, I can then start to flesh that out. I feel I'm a little bit short on the torso actually, that's probably a little bit lower, his hips. Let's bring that down a little bit. But once you're there, yeah, just flesh that out, perhaps in a darker colour. If you wanted to have a go at drawing this way, I've got loads of these different pastel pencils, you know, pale colours. It doesn't particularly matter what colour you use. Just a little bit of shadow in the eye socket. I'm not particularly good at drawing his eyes in. Just a mark to indicate where his features would be. We'll shape around his head. His ear's going to be in about there. Back of his neck's going to be there. His chin's there. If you want to use tone, you could do a little bit of tone, but I would really just try and concentrate on the structure. So again, we've got quite a muscly chap, this chap. So we've got some muscles there, collarbone there, shoulders to there, middle of his torso there, and to here. Sometimes I find working, again, like if I was drawing a face, draw from the middle outwards, and I tend to do the same if I can with the whole figure. And then his muscles, shoulder muscles there. And maybe work this side a little bit. Come to here. too wide actually. Now that line has moved over a little bit, so the middle of his stomach is there. So probably these guidelines, I think they're good for general direction, but they've probably moved, you know, I might need to move those a little bit down to his trunks level there. But I'm still trying to maintain that little bit of an angle there. And then, so this leg is taken away. I think I'm going to run out of room actually, I've drawn a bit big. Knees, something like that. And then, yeah, if I've got a line, give me this general angle like that, I can then look at the shapes either side of that and see that that shape is rounder there, but this shape is a little bit higher. You know, it's almost the same as that, but it's a little bit higher up. So it's relating one side to the other, drawing a little bit of one and perhaps a bit of the other, working my way down to his ankle, and that will come off, kind of off the page there. His toes will end up there. And then basically kind of follow that through with the other leg. Looking at these, you can look at the other thing you can look for is what they call negative spaces, positive and negative spaces. So if I've drawn the rest of his arm in and we've got this javelin type thing here, you know, you can look at that shape there and look at this shape in here and in here. And these will all help you to see, you know, to see the shapes of the muscles. If you're looking at the space around somebody, it helps to see the actual shapes. Sometimes there aren't any. So say, like here, you could do that. You could just kind of box that in and just think, well, what sort of shape would happen there? And I used to do this a lot when I was teaching life drawing, actually, because that helped me to, you know, looking at people's drawings, I just kind of imagine that, and that would help me to see if I got that right. And then look at that now, that feels like it needs to be wider, doesn't it? It probably needs to come out here a bit more. So it's a good way of just checking things. So yeah, I could keep going the whole thing, but is that enough to kind of get it started? Yeah. So as I say, quick sketches, that's only taken me about 10 minutes, including talking. They don't have to be any great, you know, finish, just get the basic shapes. And then some of these are quite dynamic. So if you might draw something like that and maybe have a go at one a little bit more like that. So the sort of lines of action would be like big diagonals. Okay.